Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly if you are new here, and I am a freelance illustrator. And today I'm going to be talking about how I started my freelance journey, how I secured my first few commissions from clients, and how I was able to eventually go freelance. So I'm basically just going to be talking about the first 3 years out of university, because that's how long it took me to quit my day job and go completely freelance. It's kind of fun that I'm talking about this today because it is around about my 6-year anniversary of full-time freelancing as an illustrator, which is kind of crazy to think about. Especially as the research I've been doing for this video has involved going and looking at old blog posts and reading about my mentality back when I was newly graduated, and I never thought that I would be able to support myself completely on my illustrations and my paintings, so it's kind of amazing that I've lasted 6 years in the industry. So before I get into the video, it's time to talk about Skillshare, who are very kindly sponsoring this video. And I'm very grateful to them because obviously I am a smaller channel, but I have a very loyal audience and I think we have some great conversations here. So yeah, I want to bring your attention to Skillshare if you don't already know who they are. They are an online learning platform with over 23,000 classes to choose from and 8 million people using the site. And I've been using it over the months that I have been working with them, and it's really good. I love it a lot, especially the classes from really renowned artists and illustrators and designers, just showing their expertise in a more kind of well-rounded way. So if you are interested in joining Skillshare and you haven't yet checked them out, there will be a link in my description which will give you 2 months of free access. So click the link if you would like to find out more. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So, I graduated in 2010 with a degree in illustration. For the rest of that year, I think I was pretty much just working out what I was going to do next. I got a part-time or casual work job to start paying off my student overdraft, and I was just kind of really figuring out my life. And then in 2011 was when I started pursuing illustration as a career properly. For the first 3 years out of university, I had a lot of other work, some of it part-time, some of it full-time, all of it mostly casual work, so I didn't get that many perks out of it, but it did mean that I could be quite flexible. So a lot of that involved waitressing, so any hours that I wasn't waitressing, I was working on my illustration portfolio. So that is probably going to be the biggest takeaway of this video, and the biggest takeaway of most of my illustration advice videos is just to always be working on your portfolio, because it is the most important tool that you have in order to secure clients, and it's how they find you, it's how they find out what your skill set is, and it's how they determine whether they want to commission you. So yes, social media is important, and it's also fun. I love making videos and connecting with other illustrators and people that are interested in illustration, but it's not how I get most of my work. Most of my work comes through my portfolio, which is my online website. Online website? What other kind of website would there be? My website. So if you want to see what kind of stuff I have on my website, I'll leave that linked. I always leave it linked in the description, and it might give you some ideas of the areas in your own website that you might want to bulk up and improve on. So when I graduated university, I by no means had a full and complete portfolio, and it did take an extra 3 years to build it up to the stage where I was able to get regular client work. So in 2011 I started blogging quite seriously. I was blogging all throughout university, but I would say that 2011 and 12 were my most prolific blogging days, and it was a really amazing tool to help build up my portfolio and to show my progress and to kind of play around with what images I wanted to share online and which ones I would then designate to my website and which ones would just stay on my blog. And I think it's also really good to have a lot of images that you are sharing online, and you make sure that they're tagged correctly, make sure that you have lots of relevant keywords in your blog posts and in your website posts, so that when clients are doing a Google search for the type of illustrator they're looking for, they will come across your work. And that is basically how I got my first few client projects, through using my blog and using lots of key terms that were very searchable, like watercolour illustrator, watercolour illustrations, food illustrations, that kind of thing. And eventually I started to have a trickle of people contacting me. In 2011, so 1 year out of university, it was mostly small clients. I worked for like a camping website in the UK, just made a map of a campsite for them. I think I did a bit of free work as well. Free magazines that are distributed in like art galleries and stuff. Did a bit of online free stuff as well for blog posts. I wouldn't recommend doing any of that. I would say do it for your own portfolio. And a lot of the pieces that I did for them, the free work, wasn't really what I wanted to include in my portfolio anyway. So not really sure why I did it. I think it was just like a lot of people were doing it at the time. I think I contacted a few art galleries and like gift shop places around the UK and started stocking my prints in a few places. So that was earning me a tiny little bit of income. I also was doing pet portraits, mostly for friends and family to start with. But as my online audience was growing through my blog, I was able to secure a few more commissions outside of that. One of my first magazine commissions was for Good Food magazine, the Russian version. No idea how they found me. It was a very strange, quick turnaround commission. And yeah, I never heard from them again or anything, but that was one of my first commissions. And it wasn't until 2012 when work really started to pick up and I was able to do lots more projects. It was also the year that I really got a hang of creating my own work. So one of my key standout pieces of personal work that I did to improve my portfolio was a series of breakfast food illustrations, and I uploaded those to my blog, to my website, and also on Behance. I think it's one of my most viewed projects on there. I did get a few jobs off the back of that project, but those jobs didn't come in until the following year. That's something to bear in mind when you're creating new work and you're uploading it online. Don't expect for there to be instant recognition. It can take a long time to build, and it is kind of luck as well, someone finding your work at the right time when they're searching for that particular style. So in 2012 I created a t-shirt design for a small UK company. So that was my first kind of experience with learning about licensing my work and writing out contracts and making sure that they weren't going to be using that design for anything other than a t-shirt. I did something for Topshop, which I guess is quite a well-known brand, but I only got that commission because I was dating someone who worked in the graphic design team at Topshop at the time. So I don't really feel like I have that much credit for securing that job, but it was useful to work with a big brand and really helpful to be able to put that brand on my client list. I think sometimes it helps to know people when you're starting out, but again, it does come down to luck. Some people are very lucky, they have the right connections and they're able to move their career forward faster than someone that doesn't. Shouldn't be the only thing, and I certainly don't have any connections now to anyone, so it is possible to have a career in illustration or in the creative fields without any contacts. I did some work for the Florida Times, which is another random one. They found me through a Google search. Started to use Society6. I was using Etsy, just to have a trickle of income coming in, selling a few prints, still doing pet portraits, also doing wedding stationery and baby portraits, which I had completely forgotten that I was doing. And I don't know why I chose that, because babies are notoriously hard to paint. They have very different proportions to adult humans, obviously, and yeah, it's very hard to do a flattering portrait of a baby, I think. Well, I found it very hard to do a flattering portrait. A lot of babies look a bit strange, and yeah, I definitely struggled with that, and I'm not sure why I went down that route. So, the end of 2012, just looking at my notes, the end of 2012, I went travelling for 3 months with my sister, and I came back, and a lot had changed. Suddenly I was noticing a real increase in the amount of work I was getting, which was amazing. And I actually have it written down in my blog that 2012 was my year. And I really think it was. It was the year that finally gave me that encouragement that maybe I could make this a career, and maybe there are enough jobs out there so that I can sustain myself without part-time work. Again, I can't really explain what this increase in workload was about. I can only put it down to me being persistent with pursuing what I wanted, and blogging and improving my work, and just doing a lot of self-initiated stuff to improve my online portfolio, and I guess just improve my skills as well. I can really see as I look through my blog how I've refined my skills over the years, and it's just perseverance. It's just putting the time in and improving and tweaking until you notice that increase in work. In 2013, which was the year that I was able to quit my job, I started to get regular work, which was such an amazing sign and really encouraging, because it meant that I knew at least which jobs I would be doing month on month, so I would have some sort of regular income coming from illustration. I started working for Intelligent Life magazine. I worked with them for a long time, actually, maybe about 4 years, I think. I was doing a food illustration for them on a monthly basis, I think it was. But yeah, it was great to have some reoccurring work, and it also meant I got to build a really nice relationship with the art director. He gave me some great advice over the years, and I think he was really kind to me, gave me a bit of perspective about what it's like to work with illustrators and what art directors need from you, which was so useful. So yeah, that job was great. And then I was also working for The Sun, which is a newspaper in the UK, and it's not a very good one. But and I don't know, if they approached me now, I don't know whether I would work with them. But at the time, I really needed to, and I wasn't painting anything controversial like their page 3 models or anything. I was painting food, which was great to get lots of practice, and it was very frequent work, sometimes weekly, sometimes fortnightly or monthly, but it just went on for most of the year, which was really great because it meant regular income. And I also got a lot of practice, and I think that my work improved a lot by working with them. And then that year I also worked for a few in-flight magazines, again off the back of my food illustrations that I was sharing online. Around this time I was also contacting a few clients I wanted to work for, and one piece of advice that I have that actually paid off for me quite well was researching magazines and then finding out about the media companies that run those magazines, because often you can't email the magazines directly, but you can email the media companies, and those media companies might work with lots of different magazines. If you are able to find out about the art directors, maybe they're on LinkedIn and you can find out what their email address is. That was a way that really worked for me, and I felt like I was actually emailing the right people rather than just sending an email to info@whatevermagazine.com, because often those emails get lost. So if you can find out the media company of the magazine you want to work for and then research about the art directors, maybe you can find an email address, maybe you could ask via Twitter or something if you can send them your portfolio. They might put you on file and use you in future. And in-flight magazines do tend to use a lot of illustrators, and there's a lot of them around the world. There's a lot of airlines that have different separate magazines. 2013 was also the year of the textile company fiasco. So I have a video where I thought I was going to have my big break with this really well-known British brand. I talk about it in the video, so I'm going to leave it linked. It'll be up in the cards and you can go watch it. But yeah, 2013 was the time for that. And then only a few months later, I was able to quit my day job. So it just goes to show that there are a lot of peaks and troughs throughout your process of becoming freelance. How did I know that I was ready to go freelance? It's hard for me to remember, and I haven't documented it in my blog actually, which is weird. I don't know why I didn't do that. It just got to the stage where I had no life. I didn't do anything except go to my day job, come back and work all night. And it got to the stage where I wasn't sleeping enough and I felt very stressed, and I was having daily emails with clients that I was trying to answer on my break. And I'd also saved up quite a bit of money so that I could afford to pay my rent for the next 6 months or something. Yeah, I just felt like the end of 2012 and the beginning of 2013, the momentum didn't slow, and more people were finding out about me and wanting to work with me, and it just felt like the right time to quit. I was obviously very scared about doing it, but then I also knew if it didn't work out, I could go back to my job because I was a waitress, and waitresses are always needed in different restaurants. I had savings. That's the most important thing. Make sure you have savings for a good 3 to 6 months of bills and rent and food, so that you're not caught out. Make sure you have savings, number one. and just notice your workflow. Notice whether it is building and building, and whether it's becoming more and more regular work that you are securing as an illustrator. And also start making a note of how much you're earning month on month and whether you could in fact live off that if you didn't have your day job. I think when I first went freelance, I wasn't earning very much at all. It meant being very, very thrifty with my money, having a very strict food budget per week. So yeah, definitely work out whether it's enough for you to live on and whether momentum is building. That is everything I'm going to talk about today. I really hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about my first 3 years out of uni, what I did in order to be able to go freelance and quit my day job. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a day job at all, so if you are thinking that you don't want to let your day job go, then don't. There's absolutely no reason for that. It can be a really good safety net and also give you a bit of balance in your life as well, so you're not just on your own all the time if you don't do very well at that. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Share with me what your very first commissions were, because that's always interesting to hear about. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. Subscribe if you're new. I make weekly videos about my life as a freelance illustrator. And yeah, check out the link for Skillshare if you would like to learn more about the platform. And I will see you again very soon for a new video. Bye!